What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today just felt right to jump into quarter three earnings of Amazon. About a week ago, I posted a video on why I think Amazon was such a great buy. And in that video, I discussed mainly AWS and just the slow growth of Amazon. Wall Street typically thought that Amazon was not going to be reaccelerating their numbers when it comes to AWS, since it's the most important part of their business. Of course, their revenue base from their products is extremely doing very well, right? They sell a bunch on e-commerce, things like that. They control most of the market, right? But anyways, today I wanted to go ahead and jump into quarter three earnings, and I made a slideshow really quick. I'm about to share my screen, jump into it really, really quick. There it is. AMZN stock ticker, Amazon. So the main thing that I got from today was Andy's Jesse's confidence from the earnings call. Typically, any company, every quarter, they report an earnings report in which then the CEO speaks about how the company's doing. And that's typically the most important time you want to listen into what's happening with these companies, just because you want to hear how confident these CEOs sound, right? And typically, the stock market is always going to be forward looking, right? So, for example, if Andy Jassy says that Amazon's going to be is looking good for growth, for sales, things like that, the market is going to reward it. And that's exactly what happened here in today. So a couple things that Andy Jassy mentioned is he says we haven't seen this type of AWS growth since 2022. And I think this is absolutely huge because I'll get to a diagram where it show a chart where it shows where the earnings growth was prior a few years ago to where it was a year ago to where it is today. So I'll show that very nice visual so you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. So AWS accelerates to 20.2% ahead of 18% estimates. So all of the analysts across the board thought they were only going to grow 18%. And if honestly, if it came in at 18%, we probably would have seen a dump in the stock. But since it's 20%, and Andy Jassy says that they have not seen this type of growth since 2022, as soon as I show you that chart, you'll see exactly why the stock just jumped. Another thing that Andy Jassy says is, I don't know if there's ever been a time in history of Amazon or maybe business in general with the technology transformation happening right now, where it's important to be lean. It's important to be flat and it's important to move fast. And that's what we're going to do. So the confidence in what he says during this earnings call is very key. You want to keep an eye on like what does he think about the current market? What does he think about what's to come? And the numbers support what he's saying. The way he spoke in the earnings call showed confidence. Like those are the key things that you want to look at as an investor whenever you're looking over these companies and what their numbers show, right? So the numbers are good. He's confident. Let's keep rolling. Amazon just said it expects to spend 125 billion in 2025. So the total year 2025, they expect to spend 125 billion in capex or capital expenditure. And what that is typically what they're spending to then receive their revenue. So to me, what this means for the future is that he's confident in what they're doing and their infrastructure to spend $125 billion more because they know that down the road, 5, 10 years from now, they're going to be receiving that and more, right? Growing a company requires investing, and part of this CapEx is just investing right back into the businesses, infrastructures, chips, NVIDIA chips, things like that, right? They want to get into robotics, controlling most of their like warehouses, things like that, right? All down the road. That's why, in my opinion, I think NVIDIA is going to be the number one company to report, the first company ever to report $1 trillion. And you guys can quote me on that. I'm very, very confident that's going to be the case. So I definitely am very excited for the future of Amazon. And this is just one slide as to why. So let's go ahead and keep moving. Okay. So right here is going to be the most important part of Amazon, in my opinion. It's AWS revenue, and this is quarterly in millions, right? So on this chart right here, it shows that in 2020, 2021, and 2022, we started to see first a rise in growth year over year, sorry, quarter over quarter for AWS revenue growth, right? So during that time, you could go back to the charts and the stock price of Amazon and see that it was being rewarded because of that. And in my opinion, the reason why Amazon has been really struggling for such a long time is because the decrease in the growth of AWS. And like I said, AWS is Amazon Web Services, so it pretty much controls most of what Amazon's cloud is like their cloud services and what they run on, right? I think about a week ago, there was a crash in their web services that had problems to a bunch of companies. All of those companies depend on AWS, which is why, in my opinion, is extremely important. So during that time, growth slowed down, which it did. Clearly, you could see it came down to 12%. Usually for a tech company, 12% is really not significant. The street typically wants to see at least 20%, which is why I think from the chart you could see that over the course of the last couple years, every quarter, you started to see a little bit of growth here, a little bit of growth there. In March of 2024 to March of 2025, you could see it went from 17 up to 19% growth down to 17. And you can start to see that slowly but surely they're starting to pick up their pace on how quickly they're growing, right? And like I said on the previous slide, Andy Jassy is very confident that they're going to continue to grow. He says that he has not seen this type of growth since 2022. And it's a good sign as an investor. I'll tell you that. I'm very excited as an investor. I plan to continue buying. I will not stop buying this stock. I think it's just looking 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road is going to be a massive company. And we're already seeing everything that Amazon is able to do. Jeff Bezos has created a monster of a company. And this, like I said, this diagram is definitely one that I wanted to include. You can start to see visually it slowed down. The stock, broken stock, right? The stock was just stagnant, stagnant, stagnant. Because in reality, why would it be rewarding the stock if the growth isn't there? Now that we're finally starting to see a pickup in the growth, you could see clearly from the stock price why exactly, you know, the street is now excited. They're rewarding the stock. And again, it's forward looking. So because Jesse said that they're looking forward to growth, the stock grows, right? Let's keep going. So this right here is going to be broken down revenue in each of their sectors. This is very similar to the one I showed the other day. Online stores, physical stores, third-party advertising, subscription, and AWS. As you can see, this is just up and to the right. This is exactly what you want to see in a company, right? Just growth over the long period. Oh, shoot. Growth over the long period of time. And, if you guys pause and just kind of look at these numbers, it's like 262, 22, 167. As you come down, right? Or sorry, as you go up, the growth is just there from online revenues, from physical stores, from third parties. Like I said in the other video, they have just so many ways to make money in the company. And in my opinion, like I said, man, I'm buying Amazon, not stopping. Even if it rose, like it's one of those things that you just want to stack your chips in Amazon. In my opinion, it's probably one of my favorite businesses out there, just because, like I said in the previous video, who is not buying from Amazon? I just ordered something today from Amazon. Like it's serious. It's serious. I really like this company. I know I say that this is an investment advice, but Amazon is one of those you just really can't go wrong with it. So. And then the last slide. So this right here is going to be the main numbers. This right here is a quarterly earnings report. So you can kind of scroll down through all of their numbers and everything that they're reporting. And I pretty much just highlighted the things that I wanted to emphasize on this video. So net product sales, as you can see in 2024, 67 billion for the quarter of last year. This quarter now is 74 billion. So it's a clear increase. Total net sales from last year, quarter three, 158 to 180 billion. So from quarter three of 2024 to quarter three of 2025, you could see a substantial increase in growth, right? They're just constantly growing, constantly putting up more revenue. And it's just that's exactly what you want to see in a company. One thing I do also want to mention, because when you're an investor, you definitely don't always want to look at the bad things of a company, right? But you do want to look at what's going on with their spending, what's going on with their, are they cutting people off? Like what exactly is going on, right? So as you can see, their operating expenses did increase, right? So that's something we do want to take note of, right? It did increase, but as you can see, it did not necessarily affect the net income at the very end of the day. So we have 15 billion quarter three of 2024, quarter three of 2025, we have $21 billion of net income in 3 months in one quarter. That's absolutely insane. I'm telling you, this is a money machine right here, money machine stock. This is absolutely crazy. And like I said, there's always going to be little things here and there that bears, or for anybody that doesn't know what a bear is somebody who doesn't believe in the company. They want the company to go down, right? So a lot of the times these bears will find little things to pick at these companies. Amazon, when I was buying it, it was about in the 150s, 140s, 150s when I first started buying. My average, I think, right now is $180. But during those times, there's always going to be bears that are going to push down the stock. And they do that by talking bad about what's going on with the company, right? Oh, they're spending too much, they're not growing quickly enough, this and that. And I think that whenever you put your money into companies like this and you hear negative news, and yes, the stock may drop, I think that the power behind knowing what's going on in the company and the numbers is what's going to help you whenever the stock does go down. Because it could, right? Amazon was down to like $150 at one point. Right now we're at 250, right? So in order for you to be confident in when you're invested in, you must do this. You must look at what the CEO is saying. You must look at the numbers, right? How's their revenue quarter over quarter, year over year? How are they slacking on example products? Are they slacking on advertisement? Are they spending too much on advertisement and not making enough net income, right? Like there're just so many things that you got to look at, and it's very important to do that. That way, whenever the stock, if it drops, like the other day, just last week, the stock was at 220, right? And it dropped to like, I think the lowest this year was like at like one something, right? And you could have easily been afraid and sold, right? But why would you do that when you know exactly what you're invested in, right? It just goes such a long way. I think it's the more you know about the company, the easier it's going to be to stomach the drop, the short-term drop, right? It is short-term drop. And then that's when you wanted to like capitalize, right? You want to buy one of those or fearful, excuse me. You want to capitalize whenever people don't want the stock, right? Because you want to buy at the cheap prices. You want to buy when the value is there. And to me, when the value is there is when the stock is doing bad, but the numbers continue to grow. And we can clearly see that with Amazon. So I think that is it. Anyways, guys, just hopping on here. Just wanted to go ahead and go over the numbers of Amazon. In my opinion, Amazon will always be a buy. Um, it's just we all shop from there. It's not going away anytime soon. The 800, I think it's like $760 billion of revenue in 2024. I cannot wait to see what they're going to do this year, 2026, 2027, 2028. And the more revenue they have, the more net income it's just a money machine. Like this company cannot be stopped. Um, so I'm really excited for the future of this company. Very, very happy as a shareholder. Appreciate Andy Jassy, Jeff Bezos, and just management in general, trusting them. And, it's all part of being an investor, right? You got to overlook short-term pain and, eventually the long-term gain comes. So anyways, hope you guys enjoy. Have a great night.